This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore! Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
Let's talk Monday Night Raw that emanated from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Obviously famously known for Bret the Hitman Hart, and he did make an appearance on the show that I thought was as effective as you could probably make somebody at his age on the show. You know, they're not going to take a bump. You know, they're there for the pop and the cheers and the adulation, which is all fine at that stage. I'm not expecting them to do anything other than that. But we did get several big announcements leading towards Bad Blood, which of course is a few weeks away. And we got a Hell in a Cell match to talk about that was widely expected and should be a hell of a match, violent match that I'm sure a lot of us are likely going to see blood in, right? I mean, if we don't see blood at Bad Blood, I think it's a missed opportunity. That's a match that warrants it. WWE's been much more liberal with it, with the net move to Netflix in a couple of months, 3 months, 4 months, October, November, December, January, 4 months. I actually counted on my fingers. Yes, we have a clear direction for WWE to head towards a more TV-14 environment, more of a teen/late teen environment that they have now come back to, and the announcement that Raw, starting in mid-October for at least through the end of the year, is going to be down to 2 hours. Cue the angels singing music, because that is something I think a lot of us are going to love. And yeah, sure, I listen to the Hulu version, so it's not going to affect me, but I still watch the other things that happen on the show to make up for it. And now that even though the Hulu version is still going to be 90 minutes, because SmackDown's still 90 minutes on the Hulu version, they don't have to cut out as much. So you're not missing as much for those that only rely on the Hulu show. Now, is this going to be something that has some staying power? Is it going to be something that is not just experimental and that they're just going to test out for a quarter, which is what they're doing? They're testing it out for a quarter from October to December, 3 months, and seeing how much it affects revenue before really committing to it. I think that's the goal here. Not only how do fans receive it with the 2 hour switch for a few months, but most importantly, hate to say this, fans, but we're not the most important thing. You want to know who the most important people are? Sponsors. Because that extra hour that they were getting for ad revenue, how are they going to make that up? Do they charge higher prices for the 2 hours since there's only 120 minutes instead of 180 minutes of the show with X amount of commercial breaks? Maybe that's how they make up some of that lost revenue, but they're not going to miss out on that revenue. That is one of their primary, if not their primary source of revenue, is the sponsorships and the ad spots throughout the show. So, of course, I think that this is being used as a guinea pig time. Maybe they'll go back to 3 hours. Maybe they'll stick to 2 hours. I think fans unanimously would say 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours, please. 2 hours is a sweet spot for a wrestling show. It doesn't feel like a marathon to get through. It's easier for creative. That extra hour is exponentially more difficult to write. They can focus on and creating higher quality content instead of worrying so much about volume. And again, seeing how the fans receive it. The talent, I'm sure, feel quite differently. The talent themselves, I'm sure, especially those that are underutilized, probably feel that extra hour is now not going to be possibly given to them. That those who may not have gotten an opportunity now are going to maybe be left by the wayside. Well, to that I would say, and this sounds a little harsh coming from a fan that I'm sure none of them really care about my opinion, but this is the reality. Step up your game. And I mean that generally across the board, because when there's less time, that means less minutes to utilize on the show, which means you need to maximize the minutes you do get, those precious minutes. Those minutes become even more valuable because there's less of them, a supply and demand issue. And that means I would think that everyone should improve And across the board, again, the ad revenue is a separate issue that WWE is going to have to work through. How do they make up that lost revenue? They'll find a way. As I said, maybe they charge more for the ad spots. But again, Netflix going to Raw, or Raw going to Netflix, of course, changes things. But this is, I think it's experimental, but it also may just be something that they're easing us into with the Netflix change in January of they had 2 hours planned. We're going to start 2 hours 3 months early so fans get used to it and then ease into Netflix. Maybe that's the plan too. But here's the thing. The matter of fact is that it should up everyone's game and up the actual quality of the show. I don't think anybody really loves the third hour. Nobody. Outside of the talent who may not otherwise have gotten an opportunity. Who may now be pushed to the main event, which is a hilarious name for a show that is anything but the main event. It's almost a mockery to those guys and gals on the main event show. Nobody really watches main event, let's be honest. There are fringe fans and fans who listen to podcasts like this one who do, and really, God bless you. You are a true, you can't get enough fan, and that's awesome. But the name of the show, main event, I guess maybe that's the goal that everyone on the show is reaching towards, because the show itself is anything but the main event. All the guys and the gals on the show are anything but the main event. But of course, what do I know? I'm just a lonely fan. Lonely fan screaming out into the void. What do I know? Well, we had a pretty eventful Monday Night Raw. We're going to get to all of that in detail, again, including the announcement by Adam Pearce of the Hell in a Cell match that is taking place between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. We'll talk about that in a minute. In fact, we'll lead the show with that. But I want to first invite you to check out our Patreon side of things. If you want to join and get an ad-free experience, patreon.com/WWE podcast is the perfect place to go. Gets you in the door ad-free, gets you a shout out on the show, more benefits as you move up. So lots of cool perks and a week for free. So if you just want to try it, but you're like, I don't know, I'll try it. Well, we got an option for that over at patreon.com and also on Apple Podcasts, where you can check us out there for a week for free as well. And there's a monthly option or yearly option that gives you 2 months for free. All right, let's get into it. I'm going to start with, even though this didn't open the show, I'm going to start with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. We had him come out and encourage the fans to chant Punk's name and said that no longer does it bother him because it's, quote, it's simply in memory of when they chant Punk's name. McIntyre recalled Punk boasting the idea that he beat him in a strap match and thought he would get a world title match. McIntyre said Punk screwed him out of the title 3 times and added that he pinned him at SummerSlam and said just because Punk's the best at touching 4 corners doesn't mean that they're finished. And he questioned why Barrett stood in his way. They have a long-standing friendship. Barrett was standing up for himself, but didn't say much on the mic. And that's when Adam Pearce came out and asked if McIntyre had lost the plot in life so badly he wants to fight his friend. And he said he had some news that I'm sure he'd want to hear. Pearce said that he spoke with Punk and he's not done with McIntyre either. And he announced that they're going to be fighting each other one more time at Bad Blood inside Hell in a Cell. McIntyre looked a little unhappy, but I thought this was effective. It's something that, yes, it was widely expected, but something that is deserving. See, that's a key. This match is deserving. Triple H has seen the devaluing of the Hell in a Cell match over the years and has now corrected course to only have Hell in a Cell matches when the programs warrant it, not just have a match that is a gimmick PLE on the calendar and whatever matches or programs happen to be going on at that time. Well, somebody's got to go in the cell. No. Totally defeats the purpose of what the Hell in a Cell was originally designed for. Programs that are at its conclusion, that are boiling over, right? That need a blow off, that have very, very deep-seated personal issues. That's what the original purpose of Hell in a Cell was. And that got away from WWE for a long time, and now it's been brought back. And I really appreciate that by Paul Levesque. So, all right, well, let's continue here. I'll start at the top of Raw, though. Let's go back on a little bit of some kind of semblance of order. And again, we saw a lot of people being, coming to the arena, carrying their luggage, and which I don't mind. I really don't mind that. I really don't. It does get a little repetitive every week, but I don't care because, that's something that does have that more sports-like feel. It's a more kind of backstage look at what they, when they arrive to the arena, what are they carrying? What do they look like? Sure, some of it's staged, like Bianca and Jade, who continue to just make little cute faces at each other and look obnoxious and talk obnoxious, but never have anything of substance to say. And we'll talk about Jade and Bianca a little bit later. Things are, for me, declining in that on that team and declining quickly. But we'll get to that a little bit later. So we did have an awesome street fight, an 8-man mixed tag street fight that took place right at the beginning of Raw. This was awesome, and not just because of the chants this is awesome, which I think are often overused, but it felt PLE worthy. The way that these guys and gals were hitting each other, the spots, the twists and turns, it was all a lot of fun. I actually felt it could have gone on another 5 minutes or so, but it did go almost 17 minutes. But it went by quickly because everybody did an awesome job. And what was also great is they had a video package before this, really well done, effective, that showed us why and how we got where we're at. This is probably the blow-off. Probably, I say, but also Bad Blood's coming up, so I don't know if it's truly a blow-off. But American Made here with Chad Gable, Julius Creed, Brutus Creed, and Ivy Nile versus the Wyatts with Eric Rowan, Joe Gacy, Dexter Lumis, Nikki Cross, and of course Uncle Howdy in tow. And this was just really good. I mean, you had very well done table spots. Eric Rowan had probably the best night of his career in terms of the crowd support, which Calgary delivered in a lot of ways. I really enjoyed the Calgary crowd. You guys delivered and made sense. Okay, you weren't just chanting random things because you're at a sporting event for 4 hours like other places we won't mention over the last 4 months. Yeah, you guys know who I'm talking about. Again, this is not my cup of tea, but thank you, Calgary, for restoring order and normalcy to the audio portion of my wrestling experience. Thank you so much, Canada. Now, and I have to say, the Canadian crowds, in a lot of ways, oftentimes supersede the U.S. crowds. I'm from the United States, but I can objectively say that. Not all the time, but a lot of the crowds do, especially Montreal, Calgary. I'm trying to think of another place that they do. It's sometimes Toronto. If not every time, Toronto is kick-ass. So, they're bigger cities, but they always deliver. Okay, so Rowan set up the table at ringside, hoisted up Gable. He was saved by one of the Creeds. We had the fire extinguisher spot. We had Gable tripping Lumis, went face first onto a chair, and Joe Gacy did a handspring into the ropes and then put the Creeds down with a double clothesline. There was a "This is awesome" chant, which I think are too liberally delivered out these days. I think the "This is awesome" chant is just too easily given. And it used to be only for, those special. I think it originally started maybe in NXT and kind of morphed its way into the main roster. And it has since then been, I think, a little bit over gifted. But nonetheless, this match delivered and this match deserved it. And Rowan came to life at ringside after being put through a table, and he used a piece of the barricade. And in the ring, Rowan performed a Uranagi slam, and then we had Gacy and Lumis hit a double choke slam on two opponents, and another "This is awesome" chant broke out. And then we have Uncle Howdy stare up at Gable, and Rowan attacked Gable, gave him the claw slam onto the bottom piece of the ring steps. Rowan rolled Gable inside the ring. I apologize, guys, if it sounds like I'm clearing my throat a lot. It's because I'm fighting my first cold of the season. All right. First cold of the season. My kids are back at school. It's cold number 1 of probably 12 over the next 4 months. It's going to be brutal. I was sick last year. It was like 2-3 months straight. I'm not even kidding. But what do you guys care? Back to wrestling. So we had the finish here come when, let me get to it. Oh, Uncle Howdy entered the ring, hit Sister Abigail on Gable. Loomis followed up with the top rope splash onto Gable, and then they got the victory. As they should have. This, I think, was a match that it elevated everyone. Regardless of who won, American Made was elevated. All the Wyatt Sicks members were elevated. All of them. The crowd really helped this match, although even if the crowd wasn't that great, the match I still think would have been very perceived very well, but the crowd always helps. So I think this was a very well done match. I mean, I have really nothing negative to say about it. It was a great match to open the show. How often do you see a street fight open the show, much less an 8-man mixed tag team street fight open the show? It almost never happens. It always starts usually either with a singles match of some sort, maybe there's a tournament going on, or you have a promo that's 15 minutes that leads to the main event of the show. So this is a very welcome change of pace. Do I want this every week? No. Sometimes I look forward to the promo that opens the show. You kind of look forward to, all right, who's the big story that we're going to start with? Who's the, if there's a hot champion, if there's a big story going on, you want that person or persons to open the show to further the story. Otherwise, you're just kind of tuned out of whatever else they got going on because you're just like, I just want to know about this or that. But this was really good. So I don't know. This may or may not be the end. It looked like the end. The problem is bad blood. So we'll see. All right. So Joe Tessitore. I thought it was Joe Tessitore, but he corrected me. He would know since he's the one that has that last name. I thought it was Joe Tessitore. I've been calling Joe Tessitore for like the last week. So I think it's Joe. The E is silent. So Joe Tessitore. Sure. Joe T. How about just call him JT? There we go. So 2 hours. 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours of Raw. And yeah. All right. So Finn Balor comes out and he immediately was angry. It felt like he could have eased into the anger instead of just immediately starts yelling at Damian Priest. But it's been nice to see. Number one, Balor has new music, new entrance, graphics and all that. It's nice. Balor feels a little refreshed. And to have him be singled out for the first time in a long time in the Judgment Day is nice. You remember how you forgot how good he can be. Finn Balor is sorely underutilized generally and has been kind of hidden in this shadow of the Judgment Day. Even he acknowledged he was a sidekick. He's not a sidekick, he says, which is very true. And Balor says he doesn't listen to Priest's orders anymore, and he treated him like a sidekick. As I said, Priest accepted the challenge that was put down by Balor for a singles match at Bad Blood, which, by the way, not every match can be no DQ at Bad Blood. I know that the PLE is Bad Blood, but you got to reserve a lot of the violence for that Hell in a Cell match. So I hope that they don't just, like a TLC PLE back in the day where they would just have every match have a stipulation, and by the end you don't want to see tables, ladders, or chairs ever again, or kendo sticks, because it just is so oversaturated in the show. So I hope that this is a straight up just wrestling match. Does this deserve no DQ? Yeah, it does. But you need to pick your spots, I think, on the card of which matches deserve no DQ and which don't, for simple reasons of saturation and just being desensitized to it. So, of course, JD and Carlito and Dom show up, and they all start beating down Priest. But then Rhea Ripley, and I had a feeling they were going to do this. This is my first little critique of the show. You guys knew it was coming, but I've almost made it 20 minutes into the show. Not bad. And we had Rhea Ripley's music hit with 4 guys beating down Damian, right? I mean, what exactly is the plan here? If she wasn't cut off at the pass by Liv Morgan, were we supposed to be believing that Rhea was going to come to the ring and clear out 4 men from the ring? I mean, hypothetically, of course, that's not what happened, because Liv cut her off and they really battled, and Dom got a couple of shots, as he always does, because he'll never get an offensive move on Rhea because she's a woman. Gone over that at nauseum, which is still stupid. But what was the plan here? And people are cheering, and I'm like, if they just have Rhea Ripley, imagine if she comes to the ring. I'm sure some people would actually book it. She comes to the ring and just clears out Judgment Day. She clears out Finn, clears out Carlito, clears out Dom, of course Liv. I mean, what? I don't know. So when I heard that, I go, okay, what's she going to do exactly? She's going to get her ass kicked, but they won't do that. She's got this magical shield of being a woman around her. No one can touch her. But the real hero here to save Priest was Jey Uso. Jey Uso was there to save the day. They scampered like mice when he came into the ring with a chair. And boy, Jey Uso, I hope 2025 is better to him than 2024 was. Although I'm concerned that 2025 is going to be kind of a regressive year in a lot of ways for Jey, that could see him as part of the OG bloodline, but not carrying singles gold. So I don't know. I guess maybe regression's a little strong. I think if you are looking at Jey Uso in 2025 and saying he will be progressing, it will be considered progressive for him to become a singles champion, then yeah, 2025 I think will be regressive. But if you're looking for him to be truly the main event, and a lot of PLEs coming up, and to be giving more camera time, then it actually may be a promotion for him in 2025 and maybe even late 2024 as he's about to reunite with Roman Reigns and Jimmy and Paul, and they're doing it. They're going to get there. And the mention of Survivor Series was actually done on Raw, talking about how tickets go on sale this Friday, whatever it is, for War Games, which we already knew what the main event of War Games was 6 months ago. But it's going to be cool to see how it all comes together. Okay, so then we got the what did we get? Oh, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill versus Alba Fyre and Isla Dawn for the women's tag team titles. Now let me get to the match before I get to the criticism, because the criticism's the fun part for me. I'm a sick individual. All right, but here we go. So this match was 6.5 minutes. It's a surprise to nobody that this was a quick match, but it's for the women's tag team titles, and Isla Dawn and Alba Fyre earned it, and it ended with, as you'd imagine, Belair getting the hot tag to Jade, who then hits their finish. It's their combo that I guess warrants Jade to always be the one to pin, because she's the one in that position that would pin. Let me get a little bit deeper into this. So Jade gets the victory. There was no chance Isla Dawn and Alba Fyre were going to win the titles back. None. Zero. But as I said to open the show a little bit, these two need to do something quickly. And maybe it's not really, I guess, showing itself at live events yet with booing or any kind of frustration, at least manifesting in person yet. But it's coming. I can feel it coming, and it's not just my own brain. Nearly watching wrestling for 30 years, I sometimes, not all the time by any means, but I sometimes can get a sense of where the fans are going and where they might head. I have a strong inkling on this one that if they don't do something quickly with these two, they're going to turn on this team, turn on Jade specifically. Because this team of Jade and Bianca is the most manufactured and performative, unauthentic team. Not that they don't have chemistry in a certain way or look good in a photo together, because they have similar builds. They're both black women, all of the rest. And the accomplishments of Jade don't exactly stand the test of time against the accomplishments of Bianca, who has been really in the background over the last year and a half. I mean, she needs to come back to the forefront. I really missed Bianca in the main event, because while she's helping Jade, we're being the idea that we're being declined the opportunity to see Bianca in main events does hurt, because we know how damn good she can be. But at the same time, they're trying to build a new star in Jade. So before the turn of Jade and Bianca happens, which will hopefully inevitably happen, they're trying to build a new star, and I totally appreciate that. But there does come a breaking point, because what is WWE's plan if the fans decide to suddenly start turning on this team? And the reasons why they might turn on this team, if you're saying, well, what are you talking about? They're fine. People love Bianca. Well, the fans are noticing quickly that their tag team, well, number one, they don't say much, right? They don't say much. They speak in platitudes. They're always obnoxiously happy. They have stupid little handshakes. That doesn't feel authentic. It feels, as I said, like someone came up to them and say, hey, you know what would be a really cool thing to do? And so they did it. It doesn't feel real. They don't tell you anything about themselves anymore. Like, especially Jade. When's the last time Jade cut a promo? Tell me, a real promo, not this kind of girl kind of stuff. Because that's the attitude I feel like they have. Like they have this kind of superiority complex, especially Jade. Not so much Bianca, but Jade's got this, kind of you're not in my league vibe. And she's going to be hopefully a massive star for the company. She certainly already looks like one, but the problem is she's not actually one yet. And they're trying to help Bianca get her there. But they both got obnoxious girl vibes. Not that girls are obnoxious. You guys are probably taking this out of context, but I can't explain it better than this. They're just those like mean girls, kind of, but they're baby faces. And their matches are extremely formulaic. That's number 2. You kind of know where they're going to go almost every time. Jade starts the match. She tags in Bianca, maybe tags back in Jade, who then tags in Bianca. And Bianca eventually gets to the point where she gets overwhelmed, can't get the tag. You're struggling. You just want to see Jade get in the ring to get the hot tag. They finally get the hot tag to Jade. She comes in, works for like a minute and a half, and then finish 1, 2, 3. It's kind of how every match has gone. Every match leads to a hot tag to Jade in about 6 to 10 minutes. Call it a night. And I'm not trying to have the fans turn on them, but at the same time, why aren't they doing more here with, and you may say, well, they're already women's tag team champions, but they're like hidden in the background most of the time. Again, they don't ever talk. That's a big, big problem. Why? Bianca is definitely capable of cutting a really good promo. We know how good she is. And she has had to suppress her awesomeness at the behest of helping make Jade a star. So I give her all the credit in the world because she would never say this, but if you gave her truth serum, she would say it. She would probably say, again, this is my opinions, which is why I have my own show, that if you gave her truth serum, she would say, look, I know that it's WWE's lifeblood to create new stars. And look, I agree with that. I don't mind helping, but I have been suppressing a lot of my strengths of promos, singles matches, long singles matches, challenging for championships to help make Jade Cargill a star. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being pushed to the background. I'm capable of more. I main evented WrestleMania. I had one of the best matches at WrestleMania with Sasha Banks a few years ago. I'm a multi-time women's champion. I don't get any mic time. I understand it's all about helping Jade. What the hell? And I would agree with her in this imaginary confession. Because what are they really doing to help Jade right now? How are they moving Jade forward? Outside of doing the same poses in the same match formula every week. I don't mind a couple weeks where it's like, okay, I feel like we just saw that. This is like every time. We see them both backstage with their obnoxious little girl attitude and the sunglasses and the carrying the belts into the arena and like they're already done in makeup. They're clearly not just arriving to the arena, but they're trying to make us pretend that they are. And so their vibe is the you didn't just say that kind of attitude. That's the vibe I get. And it's obnoxious. And then she comes to the ring. Maybe she has at times she has had like a 4-word promo to add to a pre-match interview with like Jackie Redmond, but she doesn't say much. We don't know anything about her. Have we even gotten a definitive promo from Jade yet? This is not me tearing down Jade. This is me trying to help move Jade forward because I see what they see. But they're saying one thing and yet they're not doing the thing that they're saying they want to do, which is help the Jade move forward and become a star. So, I implore WWE to do things differently here that give us a little more sense of who Jade is. Humanize her. Humanize Jade. And if you're not ready to break up Bianca and Jade yet, hey, what if Bianca just has a singles match and Jade is at ringside supporting her? Everything doesn't need to be tag team match or bust with these two. And same with Jade. What if Jade has even a 4-minute match with somebody? Give her some more exposure in the one-on-one because ultimately that's where they want her. So you're going to have to eventually put her out there anyway. Why not have her at ringside, have Bianca at ringside? I mean, you could do it for both, but that's how you move it forward. But what do I know? I don't own a wrestling company. So, okay, then we get Bret the Hitman Hart with JT and Barrett in the ring, and JT asked if viewers wanted to hear the venue roar, and then he introduced Bret Hart. You know, Joe, I think, had a good night again. He has strangely felt very comfortable in his position. Is he as, high energy as Pat McAfee? No. But I left that expectation at the door. After hearing him for a night, I kind of knew what to expect on night 2. And that's exactly what we got. And I like him so far. I do. All right. So Bret gets a massive pop from Calgary, and he's absolutely deserving of it. And again, JT plugged, that's where he plugged the Survivor Series tickets. Oh, the show's in Vancouver. That's where it is. Boy, you guys are getting some awesome shows. And then we got Gunther coming out after a quick little, paragraph from Bret Hart to the crowd saying that Canadian champions would take on anyone because they had to prove themselves just as he did for over 20 years to be the best there is, the best there was, the best there will be. But then Gunther comes out. He was booed pretty loud. And he called Hart a legend, said he was about to pour his heart out to his childhood hero. And Gunther mentioned Bret's catchphrase. And Gunther said it felt like a passing of the torch moment because Bret is the best there was, but Gunther is the best there is and will ever will be. Gunther told Bret that he will always be a close second to his all-time favorite wrestler, Bill Goldberg. I mean, this was gold. Who came up with this? Like, who actually wrote this? Did Gunther come up with this on the spot? I don't know. Classic. Bill Goldberg. Okay, if I need to explain this to you as to why that's funny, then you may need to just go watch any interview done with Bret Hart talking about Goldberg and why he doesn't like Goldberg and how Bret Hart believes he's one of the worst guys he's ever worked with in terms of ability in the ring. He said he doesn't belong in the ring. He's hurt so many guys. Bill Goldberg is infamously responsible, of course, not on purpose, by accident, ending Bret Hart's career with a kick to the head in WCW after he left WWF in the infamous Survivor Series in 1997. So, I mean, it's awesome. This is hilarious. So Sami Zayn comes out and he's wearing a Calgary Flames jersey. And apparently there was somebody, and I have no idea, I don't watch hockey, but Johnny Grado, I don't know. I'm sorry. If you're from Canada, you probably want to crucify me right now. I have no clue who this person is, but apparently he was killed in a car accident. So I don't, respect. I don't know who this is. Don't know. But Zayn took issue with Gunther making it a joke at Bret's expense in Calgary, and he's a hero to the city, a generation of wrestlers, and on and on. Zayn said if Gunther thinks he's the best, he should prove it by giving him a shot at the world title, and Gunther told Bret with all due respect that he's not in his league, and Gunther said Zayn isn't in Bret's league, and therefore remains the answer. The answer remains no. And Bret said Gunther didn't look like a champion. He looked like a gutless yellow coward. I mean, you talking is Bret Hart's insults haven't been updated. Like no one gave him the software update to, improve his insults, which are stuck in 1992. I mean, or even earlier. I mean, that's such again, it's being called a coward is still an effective insult, but like, it's such a, not even a TV PG insult. It's like a TV G insult. It's like what you would hear on a child's show. But I'm not making fun of Bret. It's just so Bret Hart-like. It's like he's the Will Smith of the equivalent of a Will Smith rapper in wrestling. Because like you listen to like Will Smith when he was into, rap and hip hop. His songs never contained a curse word. Or at least to my knowledge, not very many. They were always like very, very clean rap songs, which is kind of a oxymoron today. Having a clean rap song is like, saying you're soberly drunk, So anyway, we all know eventually Gunther's going to be forced to, or will eventually be pushed over the edge to accept Sami Zayn's challenge at Bad Blood for the world title. And that's fine. As I've said last week, kind of the same story here, except Bret's injected. And boy, it really does make me want to go back and watch more Bret Hart matches to remember how gosh dang good he was. His mic work wasn't always to me a standout. It was obviously more in ring. How seriously he took the business. He never hurt anyone, which is incredible. And his work ethic and just the genuineness, the authenticity of him is really what stood out to me. But I was also on the very back end of the Bret Hart run in WWF. But anyway, so we all know we're going to get to Sami Zayn Gunther. The story here, of course, is, Sami Zayn beat him at WrestleMania for the Intercontinental title. Why can't he beat Gunther again for the world title? The answer is because it's Gunther, and Sami Zayn is not at that level. At least not currently at that level. Plus, Gunther just won it. You're not going to take the belt from Gunther. Gunther's going to go on a long run here. Point number 4, Triple H is and has shown you his propensity to implement long title reigns. His love of long title reigns, generally, not all, but majoritively, are long title runs like 6 to 12 months. Or in Roman Reigns' case, 4 years. Of course, he wasn't there for some of that, but you get my drift. Sami Zayn, though, did get into a scuffle with Gunther on the outside of the ring. Sami Zayn got the best of him. I actually thought Bret Hart was going to put a sharpshooter on Gunther or something. I thought for a moment Bret might take a bump, but they thought wiser of it, and he didn't get physically involved at all. All right. So Johnny G. Gadro, and his brother were killed by a suspected drunk driver. That's what it was. They were killed by a suspected drunk driver while riding their bikes on the morning of their sister's wedding. Got it. Okay, so for those of you who are like, oh my God, this dummy doesn't even know. Okay, I don't follow hockey. Also, I didn't see that part of Raw where they actually give us detail about it. Either I was asleep at my desk because I was watching it a little bit at work. All right. So hopefully nobody from my work listens to this show. That'd be really bad. But I must have missed that, or anyway, that's the sad news there, of course. It's tragic. I mean, no matter who that is, but there's a lot of number 13 jerseys in the crowd. That's how they explained it. All right. So Judgment Day comes out. Dom with Liv and JD and Carlito versus Dragon Lee. And Dominic beats Dragon Lee in 8 minutes. And the finish was Dom hitting a 619 at a top rope frog splash before getting the victory. And Dragon Lee continues his losing streak. You thought he was going to be doing something. You know, he had a couple of promos early on. But then, that was kind of it. And he's been on a losing streak ever since. But let's see what else happened here. Pure Fusion Collective were in the ring. Zelina Vega made her entrance. And Lyra Valkyria started to make her entrance, but was interrupted by Deville, who mocked the idea of a mystery tag partner changing the luck of the babyface. And then Deville told the mystery person to shoot her shot. In a surprise to nobody, Natalya makes her entrance. So Natalya comes out of her, Instagram photo shoot or whatever she's doing, which is where she seems to live these days. And makes a cameo appearance. I told you guys there's been a lot of edits in this show that you're not aware of. Let me just say that to cough and whatever. So we got a 6-woman tag match that ends with Natalya, Zelina, and Lyra getting the victory in about 7 minutes, which ended with a sharpshooter on Stark who tapped out. Fine. Feel good moment. Doesn't really hurt the group of Pure Fusion Collective because the real leader of that group is clearly Sonya Deville, and it was a feel good moment for the home team, so to speak. All right, and then we got, let's see here, the Punk segment the McIntyre segment. I already talked about that, and let's see here. Backstage, Karrion Kross spoke with The Miz and offered to help him out of his rut. Xavier Woods showed up and asked Kross what his angle was, and Kross said they were just having a conversation and wished Woods luck with the Kofi Kingston situation. After Kross left, Miz told Woods that he invited the game that Kross was trying to play. Miz conceded that he was in a rut. After Miz left, Kingston showed up and informed Woods that he got them a shot at the tag titles. Woods put on Bret Hart's shades and that they would walk into the 10th anniversary in November as the best there is, the best there was, the best there will be. All right, so they continue to tell us, hey, don't forget, 10-year anniversary's coming. Keep an eye out for a Woods heel turn. Please. Let's make all of this New Day nonsense worth it. I mean, there's no way to make up for the just complete bastardization that they have been of pro wrestling over the last 10 years. As you guys know, I've been a very big critic of the New Day, generally, especially Kofi. I mean, Woods has been horrible in his own right. Again, character-wise, in ring, I think they're both very good. In the ring, if they could just have an in-ring career and I don't have to see them or hear about trombones or hear about bootios or hear all that. I mean, if I never hear it again, it'll be too late or too soon. But hopefully, New Day split officially in 2 months. All right. Finn Balor versus Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio beats Balor by DQ in about 9 minutes. After Balor ignored the referee's 5 count and was DQ'd. And then after the match, Balor drop-kicked Rey into the ring post. And, we had a beatdown. Again, you don't see the 5 count finish done very often. That's an interesting one because, you see it enforced, but you never see it used as a finish, which is a nice change of pace. It reminds you, oh, yeah, you can get disqualified for that. All right. We then have, the Intercontinental title Fatal 4-Way number 1 contenders match, which I thought was very good. 20 minutes long. Lengthy match. The crowd was solidly behind Jay, followed by Braun, and then Pete Dunne and Dragunov were kind of just there. One of them you knew was going to take the pinfall. And that wasn't it, though, because as we had Strowman on the outside of the ring, I forget he was about to slam into the table. Was it Pete Dunne? I can't remember. It's kind of irrelevant because out of nowhere, Bronson Reed splashes perfectly onto Strowman through the table, the announce table, taking out Braun Strowman. Bronson Reed still selling the ribs. I love it. I mean, this is a program I didn't know I wanted. So this could be a pre-show match. They could wait until either before or after the PLE to put this match out there. I mean, it's probably borderline PLE worthy according to WWE's latest patterns, where they really select only like 4 or 5 matches to be on the card. This may make the cut. I hope it does. I'm really enjoying it. I really am. But the predictable outcome, which is not a complaint, but the right move, was Jey Uso winning, pinning Pete Dunne in 19 minutes and 40 seconds. And then after Jey Uso won the number 1 contendership, Breakker entered the ring. And they just smiled. I thought there'd be a spear. They just kind of stared at each other as the show went off the air. I mean, and I thought about this for a while with Jey Uso, who was incapacitated at one point. Braun Strowman was on the outside incapacitated. To end the show, imagine if Vince McMahon was in charge and he saw Pete Dunne and Dragunov for any length of time in the final segment of the show, the final minutes of the final segment of the show, battling each other. It was Dragunov and Pete Dunne, Butch, as he was once known. I mean, Vince, probably if he was watching, had to likely turn off his phone or whatever he was watching, because he's probably sitting there going, "Are you kidding?" You know, that's just my presumption. Given what Vince would do with guys like that, which is just forever lock them into the mid card, for them to main event a show, while it doesn't bother me or most fans, you just know Vince probably was seething at that, if he even cares or watches anymore. I mean, I would think he does. That's all he knows. That's his life. And I think it still is in a lot of ways. But there is a documentary coming out on Netflix on September 25th. We'll see how well that's done. I don't know if there's any interviews with Vince post the whole sexual abuse allegations and all that. I don't think there are, because a lot of that litigation is still ongoing, and obviously you don't want to make any comments in that documentary if the litigation is not a done deal. So I think all of the interviews done with Vince were pre any of those allegations. So, but nonetheless, it's going to be an interesting documentary on Netflix, I believe, in a couple of weeks. And so that's coming. And again, if you guys want to join us on the ad-free side of things, patreon.com/WWE podcast again, or Apple Podcast does offer a free trial and then a discount for going yearly. If you do a year, you get 2 months for free. That's always a good gig too. So I'll be back on Friday for the mailbag, but in between, of course, you guys will hear from us with the NXT and maybe another show or two in there exclusively for those of you who are on the NXT Plus and above tiers. So, alrighty, that'll do it for me. I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.